everybody. This is Keith Gleason, host of Indie Comics Relay and creator of the Mighty Mascots, here with another convention tip video. This one, I am going to talk about finding the right convention that will fit you as a vendor or an artist or a writer, what to look for, um, certain red flags to look for in a show, like if you're kind of iffy on doing a show and you're not sure. Just a couple, like, just thoughts I've had for the last, from just vending for the last 20 years, things to kind of look out and avoid, use my experience to save yourself from horrible experiences. Before we start that, though, I wanted to share with you guys the pre-launch page for Mighty Mascots issue 7, 8, and 9 is live on Indiegogo. You check it out. If you sign up early, you get an exclusive sticker. If you make a purchase within the first 24 hours, we're going to have 3 exclusive variant covers. We're also going to have a Honey Flakes eye patch, which is going to be really cool. So please consider signing up. These next 3 issues are going to be awesome. It's going to be really fun to do. So check that out. Also, the Alterna Winter campaign is in demand. This is going to be closing in a few weeks. I know it's being fulfilled right now as we speak. I know the books are in last week, and Pete is rushing to try and get them done within 3 weeks. So we're in almost week 2 here. So this campaign is probably going to be closing in two to 3 weeks. So if you haven't backed this, definitely get on board. All 10 issues for $25. You can't beat that. Plus you get the bonus trading cards that go with this campaign. So only place to really get them. So check it out. If you haven't gotten Mighty Mascots 5 and 6, 1 through 4 is available as well as the Giant that collects 1, 2, and 3. And then you can get caught up with Mighty Mascots and then join me in July for the Mighty Mascots campaign. So, all right, check those out in your spare time. All right, now that we got the promos out of the way, let's talk about this. So I wrote down a bunch of notes, and this is something that I often do when looking for a new, or if a new show pops up on my horizon, because we're up here in the New England area, and there's actually a ton of shows. Like, you could throw a rock and find a show every weekend if you really looked, really looked it up. So there is a lot of shows that pop up, and there's a lot of red flags to avoid. Like, if you see something, like to give you an example, like we have Fanboy Expo that took over Boston like 5 years ago, and just knowing the kind of show that they put on, I didn't think we would be successful at their shows, so we just stopped kind of going to them. It used to be Boston Comic Con before that, and now Fanboy took them over, and we're like, we probably do okay, but when you factor in everything, it wasn't going to add up profit wise, so we kind of stepped away from that one. So I have a whole list of things to look for. So I'd say first and foremost, something to look for that would be advantageous to you if you're especially starting out as a new artist, writer, and want to set up a conventions. A cheap table is probably what you want to look for first of all. I mean, you probably want to stick to like 1-day shows going. I mean, you could jump right in full force if you want. I'm just kind of suggesting, like, doing 3-day shows. The tables tend to be a lot more expensive, and then there's also a cost involved if you don't drive to the show every day. If you get a hotel, that adds up. Gas is like through the roof. And then any food you eat. So, I mean, if you add up all those costs, and then plus if you add up your time, if you pay yourself or whatever, chances are you're going to lose your shirt on shows like that. So if you're just starting out, I suggest 1-day shows. Look for that kind of thing, just to get your feet wet and start getting familiar with conventions in general. So cheap table is the first one. And I just mentioned, if you do a 3-day show, you have the cost of hotels, food, gas, you name it. There might be other things there too that I'm not thinking of. Let me see. Yeah. I mean, so that's something to consider if you do 3-day shows, and especially if it's not within driving distance. If it's more than an hour, most people tend to get a hotel. Let me see. Let me see. What does that say? I can't even read my own writing. Okay, so stuff to look for to avoid, at certain shows. If you see a convention that is celebrity heavy, like if, I'd say if 50% to 75% of their guest list is B list celebrities, voice actors, that kind of thing, and it may be like 2 or 3 comic creators at the end of the list, that might be a red flag. What ends up happening with a lot of those celebrity shows, it may look like it makes sense because the celebrity is going to bring a lot of people in, but chances are all those people coming in are only there for the celebrities. And they charge anywhere. I think the lowest now is probably $30 to $40 for an autograph. So think about that. It's someone coming in, they're probably getting 2 or 3 autographs or pictures. That's probably going to be anywhere from $40 to a couple $100, and then what's left in their wallet after that for artists and things like that. So celebrity heavy shows, I would say avoid if you're an artist, writer, crafter. Those might not be your thing. Retailers, they might do okay, especially if they have stuff that's geared towards that celebrity or that property the celebrities in, things like that. Another thing to look for is like a high admission price for conventions. Looking around here, I mean, 25 seems to be like, almost like I guess the low end of prices now. Like our show, Plastic City Comic Con, is like $10, and I think we're probably one of, if not the cheapest admission in New England. But everything seems to be about 25, 30. There's shows out there that are 50 or more. I don't even know what something like New York Comic Con charges for a day pass, or but that's probably 75 or more. Yeah, I mean, you think about, like, if a family of 4 is going to a show and they're paying those prices plus parking plus if they're going to see a celebrity or something, that's a lot of money. And if they're going to eat on top of that, so that's a lot of money that probably won't go to anyone else at the show. You know what I mean? So that's something to look for, high admission. This is another one that a lot of people don't think about. You want to, if you look at a certain date for a show, you may want to look to see if anything else is happening within like the 50 to 100-mile radius. Because sometimes I've been to 2 shows and there's like 2 other shows happening within 100 miles of the one that you're at. And that really, they feed off each other, because, you got to think about it. It's like a certain percentage are going to all these shows, and it's the same people that they're cannibalizing, when they do shows in different locations on the same day, things like that. It happens, especially in October and April are notorious because those seem to be the 2 months that people really love to throw shows, up here. I don't know how the rest of the country is, but up in New England, there's a bunch of shows, in February, or not February, I mean April and August and October, the 3 big months. So look for that. Another thing to look for too is whatever city that the convention is, check, go to the city's website, make sure there's not like the town festival or the fruit harvest or something going on that same day, because a lot of these shows, you kind of want, normal people to go to them on top of the geeks and everything. So that can pull a lot of people away from the convention. So I look for that when I throw our show up here at Plastic City Comic Con, because there is a lot of stuff that happens in Leominster and Fitchburg, citywide stuff where they have city downtown parades and you name it, duck races and fruit races and whatever, um, so that's something to check for, so like to just make sure, the date has nothing else that's pulling people away, and especially if it's summer, like, especially up here in New England, when summer hits, like if you tend to do a show in like May and June, when it gets really nice out, people want to go outside and go on, bike rides and nature walks and things like that. So they necessarily don't want to be inside at a convention. So that's another thing to think about. What is this one? Yeah, check reviews for conventions. You can check that out too. There's a great group on Facebook called Rate That Comic Con. Anybody can join it, and they often discuss problems with shows. So, you could go in there and, you could even start a post. Hey, I'm thinking about setting up at this show. What's people's thoughts? Tell them what you're selling, things like that. See if it's worth it, see what the reviews are, just because the show's good too, if you get put in a bad spot, that could affect you, so I always like to try a show a couple times just before I make my mind up, just in case. um that's the if the show is really big and you get placed in a crappy location, that can really hurt your sales and everything like that. Let me see. Oh yeah, and then also look to see if it's a first year con. And now that's a double-edged sword though, because first year cons can go either way. Some are great, some are it depends. Like I would say if it's a first year con, look at what they're charging for tables, see what kind of advertising they're doing. That's another thing I was going to say. Look for if the show's advertising well, like if you start seeing ads everywhere on all the social media, things like that. If you're not seeing ads anywhere, that's kind of a red flag that the show, because you see a lot of fly by night con promoters come in and they think just because they're throwing a convention that people are automatically going to show up. But no, they gotta actually do advertising. They gotta actually get out there. They gotta spend money to make signs. They gotta get on social media and push it like crazy, things like that. So that's another one to look for, what the level of advertising. And then also I had pulled my wife on some of the things, because she's been vending with me just as long as I have, and some of the things she said that she said, and I hadn't been thinking these things, but these are definitely true. She said to check the vendor list, look what kind of vendors they have. Like if you're going to a comic book show, they shouldn't have half the vendor list as multi-level marketers and just weird stuff that doesn't go with conventions. That's sure to be like, when these multi-level marketing things come in, they tend to scare people out of the aisle, and I mentioned in one of my other videos about that's happened to us at different shows. Those people tend to be very pushy with sales, like cell phone, like people that sit up for cell phones and um you know just stuff that really, I mean, should be at like a trade show, not at a Comic-Con, things like that. So look for the vendor list. I think that's a great one that she said, just make sure that everybody on there looks to be like something geek related, or something, you know, something that's for the convention, and not just not the convention trying to sell space to somebody because they can't sell tables, Another one, I haven't seen this too much, but she said it was a real thing, but conventions that brag about their numbers. And I mean, just saying that statement, it sounds like, yeah, that would be a red flag, because the people that brag tend to be the lying about everything. So that could be a real thing. I don't think I've ever run into that, but it feels like that has happened and probably does happen still. So especially if it's a new convention, that's just been around for a year or so. So but yeah, that's all I had on my list. If you've ended at shows, comment below. I'd love to hear if I missed anything, what your experiences have been. Like sometimes honestly, I try a lot of things, like even if it's something that looks like, it's kind of beneath our, like our level. I don't mean, I don't want to say it how it sounds like arrogant, but like something that like is like a 1 day show that like just popped up in a random city or whatever. And sometimes you're like, I don't know, I don't know if that's going to be worth our time or whatever. But I'll tell you, I tried a bunch of different things. Like I tried one this a couple months ago in Connecticut that was at a VFW, and it was called Silver City Comic Con, and those guys were great, the guys that run the show. And it was one of those things that I pulled up. It was a VFW. It was one floor, maybe about 30 vendors in there. It was me and another artist. Shout out to Steve Mardo if he's watching. He's a great artist. We both did it. We were both we kind of like, I don't know when we walked in, but we both we did really well. And it's like one of those kind of things. We took a chance on it, and it paid off. And then there's other things. We've done the same thing, went to them, but no one showed up. Like we've done craft fairs like that, something you could try, experiment with. I find it hasn't been very profitable for us to do craft fairs. The tables are really cheap, but because we're selling comics, it's not really a craft, so we kind of don't fit what people are looking for at that show. But I mean, I don't know what you're selling, but if something you think could fit that bill, craft fairs are usually really cheap tables or free tables sometimes, and they're usually 1 day, so it's worth trying, so. But yeah, tell me your thoughts. I'd love to hear your comments. Anybody that's vended, what you've run into, what kind of red flags you've seen, what kind of shows that have been great for you. I'd love to hear it. So, all right, everybody, that's it for this episode of Convention, setting up at cons, so definitely comment below, share and like and subscribe to the video if you can. Share it with people that might get some use out of all this whole series. I have a playlist on the ICR YouTube page that you can go through all of the videos that I've done on this subject and help out, learn from my knowledge from setting up for 20 years. So all right, guys, thanks a lot. Have a great week, and read some comics. All right.